Having maxed out all the classes and weapons to Relic tier after 200 hours of gameplay, we're going to be taking a look at a class tier list for Space Marine 2 for Ruthless difficulty exclusively. As always, this is just my opinion, and I always really enjoy reading your comments and thoughts below, so let's keep it fun and constructive. I'll break down the aspects of all the classes which I think had the most value, what they excel at, and where I feel they fall short. For each class, I'll provide a link in the description to one of mine or another creator's build that I think is particularly punchy. If you enjoy the video, smash that like button and sub to the channel. Now, let's get into it. Kicking things off, let's look at the Heavy. This class was an absolute powerhouse when the game released, and that has become even more true since the Heavy plasma weapon got a sizable buff last patch. This thing absolutely slaps. When I think about it, actually, this class doesn't really have a bad weapon choice. The Heavy Bolter, the Heavy Plasma, the Heavy Melter, they are all absolutely goated and can carry your team to victory with ease once they're at Relic tier. In fact, even before that, a green level Plasma is insane. This class can do it all, folks. It has incredible damage output for ad clear, elite clear, and of course, boss fights. It excels in terms of survivability due to its ultimate ability, Iron Halo, which works not only as a shield, but also, if it's spec'd right, buffs your damage and can also provide your teammates with extra armor segments when the shield gets exhausted. This can also provide the team with increased ability recharge speed, which offers incredible value. It can also provide you and your teammates with 25% increased ammo capacity, which is huge. Where does this class fall short? I'm clutching at straws a bit here, folks, but I'd say its lack of melee weapon can be a bit tricky to adjust to at first, but the Heavy's charge-up attack opens up gun strike opportunities to recover armor segments, so I would say that this somewhat offsets this fact. All things considered, I'm going to place this firmly in S tier, and if you're looking for a really punchy plasma heavy build, check out my link in the description below. Moving on to the Sniper, and oh man, this is such a fun class to play. It excels in terms of raw damage output, especially against single targets. You really are an elite killing specialist when you spec this class correctly, folks. The standout weapons for me are the Stalker Bolt Rifle and the Last Fusil. Both are incredibly strong, with the Last Fusil perhaps providing a more traditional methodical sniper gameplay loop, and the Stalker being a bit more run and gunny DMR style marksman setup, which is actually my preferred preference. If you spec your Last Fusil correctly, you can gear it for ad clear specialism with a wide beam, or you can lean into big single target damage to support your team from afar. The Stalker Bolt Rifle can be spec'd in a way that it deals excellent damage and has near enough infinite ammo. I'll put a link to both builds in the description below. The Sniper is a wrecking ball against elite and boss enemies, folks. Don't get it mistaken. And when you combine this class with things like the Tactical, more on that one later, and take advantage of its Auspex scan damage increase, you can do some pretty nutty one-shots, folks. The Sniper's survivability is also tied to its ability to cloak and essentially being able to de-aggro at the press of a button. Perks tie cloaking and standing still to increase overall damage the class can do, so there's excellent synergy there. And cloaking also allows you to get off usually impossible team revives and can save rounds where other classes would fall short here. However, the most standout aspect of the Sniper is the team perk that allows you and your team to regen 10% ability charge with every headshot kill. The value this adds to your squad is incredible, and as it increases the frequency everyone can use their abilities tenfold, it also ensures that you can have near enough infinite cloak uptime, which is where this class really comes into its own, and you can get into a very fun rhythm of gameplay. I'm going to place the Sniper at S tier as well, and if I had to be pushed, folks, I am actually going to put this above the Heavy just because I think that 10% headshot recharge perk is so valuable to any team. Now let's take a look at the Vanguard, and this is a bit of a tricky one for me because on one hand I absolutely love zipping around the battlefield causing carnage, and it does of course utilize the infamous Melter Rifle, making this class a true force to be reckoned with, particularly in close quarters combat. But that being said, the other two weapons it utilizes are fairly mid at best, and when we compare what it offers in terms of team value, is it up there? In my opinion, no, it's not. That doesn't mean to say that it's still not a highly viable and enjoyable class to play, and I actually think I'll take this moment to point out that all the classes are incredibly viable, which is credit to what the devs have done here. The grapple is great to get you in and out of danger, debuffing enemies, and the team perk gives you and your team 15% of your ability charge back when you perform an execute, and this can stack really well with a sniper. However, I would say that the fact there are so many Minoris enemies available at all times, the sniper headshot perk is just by and large a better choice than the Vanguard's team perk. Something which is really great about the Vanguard though is its ability to regen 10% health from executes, and if you can chain these, it's incredibly effective. But as the nature of the game encourages all players to grab executes when you can, you are sometimes left wanting and a little bit frustrated when trying to proc this ability, and that can be very problematic. Out of all the classes, I actually find this one to be the least useful, and for that reason, folks, I'm going to place the Vanguard in B tier, and this has been quite a polarizing opinion. On my live streams, we've been discussing this quite extensively, and you seem to usually fall in the camp of absolutely loving the Vanguard or just not caring for it much, and I fall in that camp a little bit. And I'm not saying it's a bad class by any stretch of the imagination, but with that being said, there are a lot of things that I think would be desirable for this class to improve it, and I think it's the one that needs the most love from the devs. With that being said, Thick Fillet has got an excellent deep dive video of the Vanguard going across all the perks and all that good stuff. I'll put the link in the description below. Moving on to the Bulwark, one for the real authentic tank or maybe even battle medic experience. Once you've unlocked its full kit, folks, and you've spent some time learning its playstyle, you can become near enough unkillable. It goes toe to toe with anything in the game with ease, and with its shock parry kit making Minoris and Majoris enemies fold very quickly via the shock damage and the increased damage they take well in the AoE. It's just an absolute blast to play. Its plasma pistol is a monster to use in boss fights and of course during the gauntlet phases of the game, and you can use the power fist with this class, but where it truly shines is running around with a heavy stance power sword setup. I've linked a great deep dive video in the comments to Crazy Mr. Pips' Bulwark guide. Make sure you check that one out if you're interested, folks. The team perk that slows down how quickly you lose contested health by 50% is incredibly clutch and increases everyone's survivability dramatically, as long as players take advantage of it. Of course, sometimes people don't seem to be aware of this and don't try get those hits in when they have been hit with the contested health, and this is what makes the Bulwark feel so great in terms of survivability. Its damage output is not as high as things like the sniper and the heavy, but I guess that's to be expected with the nature of how this class already excels. The ultimate ability though, wow, this thing is awesome. The banner, this can do all kinds of awesome stuff depending on how you spec it. It can be used to res down teammates, regen armor, and at the moment there's a bit of an odd little glitch going on. If you place this down, it will give everyone under it contested health, and if you get an execute off during that time, you'll get your health back in full, and this turns it into a bit of a field medic of sorts. And I've played in some teams on stream. We have Ghost of Normandy, one of our viewers. He plays this as a battle medic and really beelines for that, and wow, it's so effective at keeping everyone up. So with all things considered, I do think this class brings value to any team setup, but I do find myself still preferring the sniper and the heavy much more substantially, both as a player personally and when I'm looking for a team composition that I would prefer. So I'm going to place this firmly in A tier, folks. The Assault class is a very interesting one, and if you'd asked me about this before the game's last substantial patch, I'd be placing this much lower down. However, given that range damage is now toned down substantially and the Assault has been on the receiving end of some buffs, that is different now. Equipping the Assault with the heavy bolt pistol and the Thunderhammer is a monstrous combination, and it does incredible damage and fills that frontline dominator role really well. If you spec the Thunderhammer correctly and learn some simple animation cancelling techniques, you can bring the house down with some double aftershock strikes and a high frequency of incredibly high damage and gun strikes via its team perk. This team perk is so strong. It gives you and your squad 50% increased gun strike damage. This is absolutely bonkers and makes the class a truly high value asset to any team. This, combined with gun striking with a high damaging heavy bolt pistol, can bring Majoris enemies down with ease, especially if you've just ground pounded beforehand. Speaking of ground pound, taking the perk Zealous Blow allows you to recharge your ground pound quickly by killing Minoris enemies. So jumping into a group of smallies for that reward is well worth it, folks. And if you play this character correctly and aggressively, you'll be blown away at just how strong the Assault plays now. So if you haven't played it since the sorry state it was in before launch, give it another shot. I'm going to place the Assault in high A tier. I just think its kit is just so powerful now. The 50% increased gun strike synergizes superbly with classes like the Tactical, and if you put this in a squad and work around that, it just changes the landscape, and using ground pound effectively is also incredibly clutch. And if you play this aggressively like a frontline dominator, it just does insane work. It disrupts the enemy line so much with all the stagger that's going on that they can't really do much about you and your team raining chaos down on them. And I would have said back in the day when the game first came out, even though that wasn't that long ago, I'd be putting it down in C. I'd be putting it below the Vanguard. It used to be pretty useless, to say the least. Now, it's an absolute front runner. I know some people would even put it in S tier. Now, I mentioned animation cancelling and using the Thunder Hammer. There's a video in the description from myself that details how to do some simple animation cancelling techniques to really maximize your ability with this class and get those double aftershocks off. It's an absolute blast to play. Check it out. Finally, the Tactical, and this will come as no surprise. It's on a different level, folks. The All-Spec scan can increase the team's damage by 200% for a window of time, or you can spec it so that all of your parries apply All-Spec scan to the receiver for an increase of 125%, and that allows you and your team to focus targets down incredibly quickly. It's just absolutely ridiculous how good this class is, and combine it in a setup with the Sniper and the Heavy, or even the Assault, and you will have a range of incredibly high uptime on your scans. And if you've brought the Assault along, buffing your gun strike damage on top of your All-Spec scan, utterly monstrous gun strike damage. This is the premier choice for team play, and it offers a wide range of viable weapons, some of which are the top choices the game can offer. The grenade launcher bolter setup is a particular standout with near enough infinite grenade ammo due to the perk Emperor's Vengeance, refilling ammo on a Majora's kill. The Stalker bolter is shared with the Sniper and can again offer extremely good damage output with the infinite ammo mentioned in the Sniper breakdown, which is further compounded by this Emperor's Vengeance perk again. And there's also, of course, the Melter Rifle, which needs no introduction, and perhaps one of the more slept on tactical weapons, the Plasma Incinerator. I think the Tactical is currently the best class in the game. It can just do everything really well and supports your teammates beautifully, offering synergy with any other class due to how broken All-Spec scan is. It's not a glamorous ability, folks, but it just works. For that reason, it's going to come as absolutely no surprise, I'm sure, that we are going to place the Tactical above everything else in its own special S+ tier. This thing is just the premier choice of class if you want to do insane work to enemies and support your team. Its utility cannot be beaten, folks. And if you're looking for some spicy, strong tactical builds, I've got about 3 or 4 in the description below. If you're looking for an incredibly powerful Plasma Incinerator build for the Tactical Marine, check out this next video. It's got you covered. Take care of yourselves, keep having fun, come check out a stream on YouTube or Twitch, and I'll see you in the next one.